Hello everyone, I hope you're not too sick of me today. I know I've been on and off the stage a lot. But yes, hello. So I'm going to be talking about search data in the context of marketing strategy. You already know a little bit about me. I've been at Hallam for nearly 8 years now, and I oversee our SEO, content marketing, digital PR, and organic offerings. This is a stupid picture of me at Epcot, one of my favourite places in the world. I was actually doing a drink around the lake at that point, so I was very drunk. But less about that. So I'm going to talk you through, why I'm actually bothering to talk to you about this, why should you care, and also then the what, so what we're actually going to go through today. So why am I talking about this? So I think there's a wealth of insight that we can get from search data on our market, on our competitors, and on our customers that I don't think is necessarily being used as effectively as it could right now when it comes to marketing strategy. And often this data is free to use with certain tools, free to access, or relatively cheap to access with certain tools. And I think it allows us to join the dots between higher level marketing strategy and planning down to more tactical work across various digital channels like SEO, content marketing, paid media, and so on. Hopefully helping us all to be better at our jobs. So that is the idea anyway, but we'll see. So what actually is search data? I'm sure a lot of you are aware of what it is, but for those who aren't, think about it like this. So a silly example, imagine like your hairdryer has just blown up and you need a new one. Where do you turn to find that product? Or slightly more serious example, your MD has asked you to research a new piece of HR software for your business. Where do you turn? I'm sure most of you are thinking Google, other search engines are available, but yeah, Google. So Google processes, and I got this data from the internet, so the guys from Google, please don't tell me if it's wrong, but they process 99,000 search queries every second, which equates to 8.5 billion searches per day, which equates to 3 trillion global searches per year. So just think about that for a second, that huge amount of data. And when we actually think about that data, it's all of the terms, the phrases, the questions, ultimately the problems that people across the world, including your customers, are posing to Google every day. And I believe that's a goldmine of insight that we can use for market research, for competitor research, and customer research. We just need to know how to find the data and how to utilize it effectively. And I think too often this data is only really looked at as part of a search marketing strategy, so SEO, paid media, combined strategy, but actually it can be looked at much higher level marketing planning stages. So what am I going to go through? So search data, as I've already mentioned, and I'm going to be saying that phrase many more times, in the context of market research, competitor research, and customer research. I'm going to be talking through some B2B and some B2C examples, and really I think these principles can be applied across pretty much any brand or industry. So first up then, market research. I'm sure most of you, being marketers, are pretty familiar with what market research is. Perhaps you're refining a business plan. Perhaps you're thinking about adding new products or service to your current business. Perhaps you want to answer questions such as what is the size of the market that we're hoping to launch into? Who are the key players in that market? What's the demand for the products and services that we're hoping to offer? And search data can help us answer some of these questions. But of course, it's not just about search data. So marketing research obviously includes other types of research, both primary and secondary, quantitative and qualitative. I can't believe I just said those words. I always struggle with them. So things like focus groups, ethnographic research, customer surveys, and then your secondary sources, social media, publicly available reports on Statista and elsewhere. But we can look at search data alongside all of these other research methods to build up a better picture of our market. A super simple example, and I'm sure some of you are familiar with keyword research and how you can use tools to understand the demand for particular products and services from your target customers. So it is a simple example, but how would you find out whether there is search demand for your products and services and how that's changed over time? So we can use tools such as Google's Keyword Planner, which is free. There's lots of other tools available. Systrix, we heard from Steve earlier, SEMrush, SimilarWeb, Ahrefs, they all do very similar things. And we can actually plug in our key terms into there and see what the demand is for our product or service and how that's changed over time. So for this example, is for HR software, and we can see that over the past, say, 5 or 6 years, it's been fairly steady, but then over the past kind of year or so, things have started to increase. So far, so good. We can also look at our brands in comparison to other key players in the market by looking at Google Trends data. So this is free to access, and it will really help you to understand how you compare to other competitors in the market. So I took HR software as an example again, and a few key players in the UK are Breathe HR, Natural HR, and Suzanne HR. And essentially what Google Trends will show you is the search interest in that particular term over time as a topic. So we can see here that Breathe HR, which is the red line, has a much higher, we can infer that they have a much higher brand awareness from this data. And if I was Natural HR or Suzanne HR, I'd be thinking, building our brand needs to be a key part of our strategy from looking at this. And that's fairly helpful, but it's only really scratching the surface of what we can do with search data. So there's been a lot of work done over the past couple of years by Les Binet and others looking at share of search to understand market share. So traditionally, we'd had to calculate share of voice by looking at the media spend in comparison to the total media spend of all players in the market. But we can actually look at share of search to understand the market share, and it's quite easy to calculate. I won't explain that now. We've got a blog on the Hallam website if you want to read it. But essentially, what we would look at is the number of organic searches that a brand has received as a proportion of the total number of searches in that market, to give us an idea of how big a brand's market share is in comparison to competitors. So this is a share of search calculation that we've done for one of our clients, and you can see there the black sort of section at the bottom, and compared to some of their key competitors, we can see that they have a larger share of search, which indicates to us they have a larger market share, and that's actually grown recently. So not only is this useful to understand your current benchmarking and how you sit in the market, it's also a really effective tool for measuring your brand awareness activity and the success of that. And this is an example that Les Binet put together. So he looked at various different categories to, I guess, prove the theory on this. So this was the automotive category, and he found that the share of search very closely correlated to market share. And you can take that principle of share of search and actually apply it to a category itself to highlight pools of demand within a category to help with your marketing strategy. So this is some work done by Grace Kite, and she looked at the gifting category, so people looking to buy gifts for family and friends online. And what she did was actually look at the category as a whole and all the different searches that are being done related to that category, and then grouped it into topics. And then was able to look and see how the proportion of interest that that topic had in comparison to the whole number of searches for that category. And what she found, I'm sorry if you can't see it very well, but the person plus occasion, so Nana's 90th birthday or whatever it is, had 76% of share of search within that category. Okay, so how is this helpful? Well, I mean, if you know what is most popular with your target customers, the kind of things that they're typing into Google most often, then that can help position you for growth. Because when you think about things like ad creative, the content that you're going to put out there, the categories that you're going to have on your website, if you understand what's most important to your target customers, then you're essentially going to be more effective and position yourself for growth. Great, so I've covered off kind of market research, looking at search data from Google Trends, calculating your share of search, and how that can help inform your strategy. So move on to customer research, so really digging into your customers. And I think this is where search data really comes into its own. So some of you may be familiar with this guy, Mark Ritson. He's kind of the, I guess, marketing guru. And there's a couple of quotes from him that I really like. So he says, your target customers aren't like you need to start from a blank page. And this is a bit harsh, but your opinion isn't just worthless, it's dangerous. I think what he's really trying to get across here is that maybe we have a tendency to project ourselves onto our customers sometimes, or potentially we've worked for a brand or business for a long time and we feel like we already know a huge amount about our customers. And yes, we probably do, but we still need to do the research and look at the data to truly, truly understand them. He calls it killing the hypothetical customer. And I suppose it's all about embracing customer complexity based on the research. So how can looking at search data help you with this? So hopefully you've all got access to your own website's Google Search Console. If you haven't got that set up, please do. You can also use third-party tools. And we can actually look and see what people have been typing into Google in relation to our brand. And they've either then arrived at our website or they've just decided not to click on the link, whatever. And this can help us to understand customer sentiment and attitudes to our brand. So this is actually some real-life examples from a brand that was selling designer watches online, a relatively new brand as well. And when we looked at the branded search data, we found that people were searching for things like, are these watches real? Is X fake? X is the brand, by the way. Do X sell fake watches? Are they legit? Are they genuine? And then things like discount codes, voucher codes, and reviews. It wasn't so surprising to us because they were a relatively new brand and they hadn't necessarily built up that brand trust yet. But it really did help us to understand what we needed to do to overcome that. So making sure that we have trust signals, making sure that we're building the brand over time, we're building trust with customers, and we get the right content on the website as well. Another way that we can understand our customers through search data is looking at the kind of problems that they're posing into search engines and the kind of pain points as well. And this is going to help refine our targeting when we come to positioning our product. So I've chosen another software example for this. This is for antivirus software. A simple example, but if you plug that into a research tool, it comes back with things like free antivirus software. What's the best antivirus software? What actually is it? What does it do? What's the best one for Mac or Windows? And then Norton antivirus software is a very popular search term as well. And we can start to infer some things from this data. Something like, well, if a lot of people are searching for free software, how am I going to convince customers that my software is of enough value to pay for? So then it's all going to be about the content that we're going to put on the website and how we're going to position ourselves as a premium brand. We know that customers are going to need content around whether they actually need it. They seem to not really understand whether it's needed or what type of software is needed depending on which type of computer they're using. And it looks like they're also doing a lot of comparison. So best antivirus software, there's obviously a lot of research going on comparing different brands against each other. So yeah, I encourage you to do that for your own products and services to see what you can come back with. And then finally, competitor research. So there's been quite a few times, I would say, over my 8 years at Hallam where we've had clients come to us and they say, these are our key competitors. And we're like, great, okay, that's fine. And often that's based on who they've traditionally seen as their competitors, maybe who they've come up against in pictures, whatever it happens to be. But then when you actually look and see who their competitors are going to be in Google and other search engines, both from an organic perspective and a paid perspective, they can be a bit different. So we can use these tools to get a really clear picture of the full breadth of who our competitors are. So if you hopefully have access to one of these tools, if you put your domain in there, the tool will bring up who you most likely compete with in the search results based on the keywords that you're currently targeting. Now, sometimes that will bring up a load of irrelevant companies because that means either your SEO isn't very good or your website isn't really targeted to what you're hoping to be found for. In that case, get your top 10, 20 keywords that you want to be found for and then see which competitors are most often coming up for those and then look at those to be your competitors so you can build a really clear picture of who they are. And then similarly to kind of doing your own research to understand how your customers are finding your own website, you can put in your competitors' websites into these tools and see which are their top traffic driving search terms. So to go back to my favorite HR software example, for this particular website, HR software is driving the most traffic to their website as a search term. But then they're getting a lot of traffic for things like what is employee onboarding software, cloud software, global HR management software. So if I was a competitor of this particular company, that would be really interesting to me, because do we actually want to compete with them in those particular aspects of the platform? Potentially, do we even want to develop our own platform to compete with them when it comes to, for example, employee onboarding software? So again, it can really help you to build up a clear picture of what your competitors are trying to do and whether you want to compete with them in that space. Okay, I'll just do a few key takeaways. So I think the key thing for me is making sure that we're involving search teams, so SEO, paid, and others in marketing planning to uncover some of these insights, and combining that with those other really, really important research methods. We can use search data to understand market share and pools of demand within a category, using a share of search calculation to highlight areas for growth. And then finally, I think the key one for me is help your business kill the hypothetical customer and understand your competition using search data. Thank you. That is all.